She's guilty. Execute her. That's what the system screamed, backed by false footage, planted evidence, and corrupt cops. But what they didn't count on was her dog, a loyal canine who refused to accept the lie. As Harper Callaway's final days ticked down, her partner, a black German shepherd named Titan, defies commands, breaks rules, and leads a rogue agent to the truth. What they uncover shocks the entire country, a network of assassins, high-tech identity theft, and the highest-ranking law enforcement officers orchestrating it all. This is the story of betrayal, survival, and the dog who wouldn't let her die forgotten. Now, before we dive deeper, please subscribe to our channel. We share powerful, meaningful stories like this every day. And drop a comment below to let us know where you're watching from. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the story. Officer Barrett, look at me. Did you pull the trigger? The question cracked through the hushed courtroom like a rifle shot, stopping hearts in the spectator gallery. Olivia Barrett lifted her chin, steel-gray eyes locking on Lieutenant Victor Lang across the well. Her wrists, still smelling faintly of gun oil and canine shampoo, tightened against the lacquered arms of the defense chair. She opened her mouth, ready, desperate, to repeat the truth, but Judge Phelps's gavel thundered before a single syllable escaped. "Lieutenant, you'll question through counsel or not at all." Lang's smile, thin, razor-clean, never wavered. He turned away as if the reprimand were nothing more than a mosquito bite and signaled to the bailiff. The overhead lights dimmed. A monitor flickered to life. Grainy nighttime footage filled the screen. Mason Clark's penthouse corridor, timestamp burning, 22/3/17. Olivia's likeness strode into frame, uniformed, purposeful, pistol drawn. The silent recoil of a muzzle flash lit her face, and Clark's body crumpled in a bloom of scarlet. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Reporters scribbled furiously. Olivia's attorney, Maria Delgado, leaned close. Deep breaths. Jury reads pulse like wolves taste blood. But Olivia barely heard her. The woman on screen was her down to the stray hair curling behind her left ear. She had never set foot in that corridor, never been within a mile of Clark on the night he died, yet there she was, caught red-handed by the unblinking eye of technology she once trusted. Lang paced before the jurors. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've just witnessed the defendant murdering Mason Clark in cold blood. You'll hear no outlandish conspiracy theories, no phantom killers, only facts." He tapped a gloved finger on a plastic evidence box. Inside lay Olivia's service weapon, the metal, dull but lethal under courtroom fluorescence, her gun, her prints, her victim. Outside the oak-paneled doors, winter rain hammered Rivergate like fists on a coffin lid. Inside, tension coiled tighter with each piece of immaculate evidence. The murder weapon bore partials from Olivia's index and thumb. A neighbor, on the payroll of Lang's crooked cabal, though no one else yet knew, swore to seeing her sprint down the stairwell seconds after shots rang out. Bank records hinted at a non-existent bribe. Layer upon layer of damning proof formed a cage without a single missing bar. And still, beneath the prosecutor's barrage, Olivia held her breath. Not for herself, but for Titan. He lay at the rear of the gallery, a black and tan Belgian Malinois, whose chest rose and fell with soldierly restraint. Through training and countless deployments, he'd learned to mute excitement, yet his dark eyes never left his handler. Members of the press whispered about the dog's stoicism, calling it eerie, robotic. They didn't understand the discipline it took for him to stay down when every instinct begged him to charge the rail and guard Olivia from the collected scorn of Rivergate. Delgado rose, brushed a lock of silver hair from her forehead, and began dismantling the state's timeline. But each protest slid off the prosecution's armor. The night dragged past 10, then 11. Before adjourning, Judge Phelps allowed Lang one final flourish, audio of Mason Clark's panicked 911 call, truncated and blood-spattered. Everyone heard a door kicked in, a man sobbing into the phone, then 2 shots, a thud, a fading electronic squeal, then silence. When the recording died, the jury foreman, a mother of 3 with sympathy carved into the lines around her mouth, studied Olivia with newfound suspicion. The bailiff cuffed her wrists for the trip back to the holding cell. Titan whined, soft and low, a sound few present noticed but that sliced through Olivia with surgical precision. Lang lingered in the aisle, savoring victory. "Knew you'd trip eventually," he murmured, voice too quiet for reporters but crystal clear to Olivia. "City's golden girl. But even angels bleed. She steadied her glare. When this falls apart, Lang, and it will, I'll be there to watch you burn. In your orange jumpsuit? Doubtful. With a click of polished shoes, he vanished into the crush of onlookers. 2 days later, Rivergate Superior Court reconvened under a sky the color of bruised pewter. Jurors filed in, silent as pallbearers. Titan remained at the kennel. The judge had ruled the dog's earlier whine a distraction. Olivia felt the absence like a missing limb. She fought an urge to stroke phantom fur for courage as the verdict was read. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. No sob from the gallery, no triumphant cry, just a collective exhale, the room's oxygen pouring out of invisible holes. Delgado reached for Olivia's hand, squeezed once. The gesture failed to thaw the numbness creeping up Olivia's spine. Judge Phelps's next words bled slow and deliberate. Given the calculated nature of the crime, this court imposes the maximum sentence permitted under state law, death by lethal injection. Lightning forked the courthouse skylight, illuminating a single face. That of Titan, who had slipped his handler and pushed through swinging doors at the rear. Rainwater matted his coat. A bailiff shouted, but the dog ignored him, fixing on Olivia with imploring amber eyes. A pair of deputies lunged, seizing his harness, dragging him backward as claws screeched across varnished marble. Titan's growl, raw, unwilling, rose above whispers and cell phone shudders until Olivia feared his throat would tear. Her shackles clanged when she half stood. "Easy, boy," she called, voice cracking. "It's all right." It was a lie, and Titan knew it. His thunderous heart pumped through every fiber of her being until the courtroom itself seemed alive, straining against the injustice playing out within its walls. Then the double doors slammed shut. Rain swallowed his final bark. Olivia sank to her seat once more, the taste of iron pooling beneath her tongue. Somewhere in the building, Titan would be sedated, processed, reassigned as government property. No longer fit for duty, the paperwork would soon declare. But she felt instead that some vital part of herself had been amputated. That evening, Rivergate's local affiliates led with the headline, "Fallen Hero Cop Sentenced to Die." They replayed Lang's soundbite. Today justice prevailed. But one reporter, a junior field correspondent named L. Jansen, lingered on Olivia's record. 0 complaints, 9 commendations. A quiet question closed her segment. Could a decorated officer really flip overnight? Or are we missing something? The broadcast looped on a grainy television bolted to the precinct's break room wall. Detective Marcus Drake watched from the threshold, coffee cooling in his fist. Rain spattered windows behind him, forming rivers down the glass like tears no one would ever claim. He replayed L's question. It echoed his private conviction. Olivia Barrett was innocent, and whoever killed Mason Clark wanted her silenced forever. A brittle bark broke his reverie. Down the hall, Titan lay in a stainless steel kennel, sedation fogging his eyes. The handler on duty cursed under his breath. He'd never seen a canine refuse steak before. Titan's dinner dish, sirloin slivers, grilled rare, sat untouched. Instead, the dog stared at the exit, like a prisoner willing a wall to dissolve. Drake suddenly understood. The fight hadn't ended with the gavel. It had only moved into shadows. Lang's airtight case was too perfect. No smudged partials, no missing minutes on security feeds. Every witness providing Hollywood clarity. Real life was sloppy. Only manufactured stories marched in flawless lockstep. And if someone had forged a narrative so seamless, they wouldn't stop until every loose thread, human or canine, was cut. He knelt by the kennel bars. "You miss her, don't you, buddy?" Titan's ears twitched. The haze in his eyes cleared a fraction, the spark of a soldier recognizing a comrade amid smoke. "I do too," Drake whispered. "Question is, how do we get her back?" The fluorescent bulbs above them buzzed like angry hornets. Drake rose, decision crystallizing in his chest. In 30 minutes, he would locate the duty sergeant, sign whatever adoption forms required, and take Titan home. The department would grumble, but a detective with 2 tours and a spotless record wielded certain leverage. Besides, nobody else wanted a grieving Malinois snubbing filet mignon. What Drake didn't yet grasp, what Titan sensed to his marrow, was that their alliance would crack open a conspiracy woven through Rivergate's upper echelons, a tapestry of bribes, false faces, and blood. Nor did he know how soon danger would creep to his own doorstep, wearing the city's badge. But while Olivia's death warrant turned crisp under a courthouse seal and Victor Lang toasted his victory with expensive rye, a storm far older than the rain outside began to rage, built of loyalty forged in gunfire, of truth buried beneath perfect lies, of a dog who could not accept the world's verdict. And when that storm finally broke, it would sweep every falsehood, every betrayer, into the river's black embrace. The first night Titan spent at Marcus Drake's home, he didn't sleep. He paced the floor with methodical precision. 4 steps to the kitchen, turn, 4 steps back to the door. His claws clicked like clock hands counting down to some unseen detonation. Drake, sprawled on the worn leather couch with a blanket slung across his chest, watched the silent sentinel from beneath half-lowered eyelids. At 3:07 a.m., Titan finally settled by the door, eyes open, ears twitching at every creak and gust of wind. His breathing was slow, but never quite relaxed. He was waiting for the sound of her voice, the feel of her bootfalls. Waiting, as if sheer will could bend time and fate and make her walk through that door again. Drake whispered into the dark, "She's not coming home yet, buddy, but I swear to you, we're gonna bring her back." Titan didn't react, but his tail thumped once, gently, against the floorboards. The next morning, Drake took a risk. He didn't go to the station. Instead, he drove Titan across Rivergate through winding alleys and slush-laced streets to an address that hadn't appeared on any police report. 426 Ashburn Lane, the safe house where Olivia had once rescued Mason Clark from a cartel death squad. Clark's fingerprints had been all over that apartment after the incident. So why hadn't it shown up in the investigation? Because Lang didn't want it to. Drake's black sedan rolled to a quiet stop. The building stood vacant now, its windows like eyes closed in mourning. Titan leapt out before Drake could clip on the leash. He darted to the door, sniffed at the threshold, then pivoted to the side alley with a sharp bark. Drake followed. There, behind the recycling bins, buried beneath weeks of filth, was a single item, a burner phone. Scuffed. Blood on the cracked casing. Battery dead. Drake bagged it, heartbeat spiking. "You're a goddamn genius," he muttered. Titan panted in response, tail wagging for the first time in days. Back at his apartment, Drake cracked open a tech kit and went to work. Charging the device took hours. Extracting data took longer. When the phone finally booted up, the screen flickered and died twice before stabilizing. But what it revealed, chills crawled down his spine. Voicemails, 10 of them, all within 2 days before Clark's death. All from Olivia, each message a little more frantic than the last. "Mason, it's Liv. I found something. Something bad. They're in the department. I don't know who to trust. Hell, even IA might be dirty. But you need to stay put. Don't go to Lang. Clark, damn it, answer your phone. He's got your scent now. If you go anywhere near the courthouse tomorrow, it's a trap. Please don't make me come after you. Just sit tight. I'll get back up. The final message was corrupted. Static and a scream. Then silence. Drake stared at the screen, bile rising in his throat. They'd made Olivia out to be the executioner. But what if she'd been trying to protect Clark? What if she'd walked into a setup meant for him, and Lang had twisted the script? Titan nudged Drake's knee. The detective looked down. The dog was staring at the burner like it had barked, eyes alert, hackles raised. "You feel it too, huh?" Drake said. "This wasn't just murder. It was a hit, and she tried to stop it." He opened a locked drawer beneath his coffee table. Inside was a flash drive marked Echo 9. He inserted it into his laptop and began cross-referencing metadata from the burner messages. Phone towers, GPS echoes, timestamps. One anomaly jumped out. Clark had placed a call of his own, 20 minutes before he died, but not to a number tied to the department. He'd called Victor Lang's private cell. 2 days later, Drake entered the precinct like nothing had changed. He greeted Lang with a nod, careful not to meet his eyes too long. Titan stayed in the car. Drake knew better than to bring a weapon into a viper's nest. Lang, dressed in an immaculate navy suit and copper cufflinks, was already holding court in the break room with the DA's office, his voice low and confident. "You have to control the narrative," Lang was saying. "Olivia Barrett wasn't just a murderer. She betrayed the public trust. People need clean lines, heroes and villains. Keep it black and white, no gray." Drake nearly choked on the irony. He kept walking. At his desk, he fired up a burner laptop, opened a secure folder titled Redemption, and uploaded everything. Audio clips, metadata, surveillance inconsistencies, call logs. He dropped the link in an encrypted message and sent it to someone he'd met once, years ago, during a federal task force joint op. She owed him a favor, and she didn't mind blowing holes in local corruption. Then he sat back and waited. That night, Drake wasn't the only one watching Lang. Across the street from Lang's Rivergate high-rise, a dark SUV idled beneath an underperforming street lamp. The woman in the driver's seat lit a cigarette with a hand that didn't shake. Former CIA, now freelance. Beside her sat Titan, watching the building with focused malice. He'd slipped out of Drake's apartment just after midnight. The window latch hadn't been a challenge. Neither was trailing Lang's scent through the city. Even in civilian clothes, Lang reeked of expensive aftershave and moral decay. From the back seat, Titan growled once, soft but deadly. "You and me both," the woman said. She turned to him. "Drake says we've got 24 hours before Lang makes a move. Barrett's transport is happening in 2 days. That's our window." Titan licked his lips, restless. "Yeah," she said, grinding out her smoke. "Time to blow the doors off this mess." In her cell, Olivia Barrett sat on the floor, back against the wall, eyes closed. She'd stopped counting the cracks in the ceiling. Her muscles ached from inactivity. Her hands missed Titan's fur like a ghost limb. Then she heard it, a click. Not the heavy turn of a guard's key. This was subtle, deliberate. The ventilation shaft behind her shifted, a whisper of air. Then a voice, almost a memory. "Olivia?" Her heart stopped. She turned. A woman's eyes peered through the vent. "Agent Reyes," Olivia whispered, stunned. How are you here?" "I've got proof. You've been set up. Lang's up to his neck in this." A pause. "But we've got a problem. Your transport's scheduled early, tomorrow at dawn. Lang's gonna move you out of state." "Disappear me," Olivia said, realization cutting through her exhaustion. "Unless we stop him, we're getting you out. Tonight." Olivia stood slowly, fire rekindling in her chest. "How?" The woman smiled. "With help from an old friend." Behind her, Titan barked once, and Olivia, for the first time in weeks, smiled. As the transport van pulled out of Rivergate Penitentiary, under a moonless sky, Lang watched from the tarmac, smug beneath the shelter of armed guards and paperwork. The van's lights disappeared into fog. Behind him, a black SUV moved like a ghost. Inside, Reyes and Titan waited. Titan's ears flicked. Drake's voice came through the comms. "Showtime." Reyes shifted into gear. "Let's bring her home." And as thunder rumbled across the city, Olivia Barrett sat inside the prison van's rear compartment, wrists bound, but her eyes blazing with purpose. Tonight, justice would wear no badge, only teeth. "Stop the van." The command cut through the silence like a knife, sharp and unexpected. The driver glanced at the man in the passenger seat, Agent Marcus Lang's right-hand enforcer, dressed in tactical black, a gun holstered on each hip and a cold, unreadable stare. The van had already exited city limits and was cruising down the long stretch of fog-wrapped highway toward an undisclosed facility, a euphemism that reeked of finality. The driver hesitated. "We're still 20 miles out from." "I said stop the van," the agent repeated, voice flat. "Now." In the rear compartment, Olivia Barrett lifted her head. She had been cuffed and chained to the floor bolts, wearing nothing but a dull orange jumpsuit and cuts on her wrists that hadn't stopped stinging since the night she escaped. But now, the slight change in engine pitch, the halt in motion, it made something old and sharp awaken in her gut. She counted to 5, then 10. The van stopped. Then she heard it. A click, metal shifting, footsteps on gravel, then silence. Her heart pounded. She braced. Suddenly, the back doors flung open and a figure stepped in, gun drawn, face obscured by a black mask. "Olivia Barrett," the voice said. She didn't flinch. "I assume this isn't a courtesy stop." The figure tilted their head. "Not for them." Behind him, another set of footsteps approached. Then came the unmistakable sound of a low growl, deep, furious, and heartbreakingly familiar. Her breath caught. "Titan?" she whispered, and then he was there. A shadow at first, then all muscle and fire and fury. Titan leapt into the van, skidding to her side, sniffing her face, her hair, her wounds, whimpering low and fierce. "God, boy," she choked. "You found me." The masked figure reached down and unclipped her shackles in 3 swift movements. "We have 2 minutes before backup arrives," he said. "Can you run?" "I can fly," Olivia hissed, standing despite the pain in her legs. She didn't even look back at the unconscious guards behind the van. Reyes was waiting behind the wheel of the black SUV parked across the highway, engine humming low. When she saw Titan and Olivia sprinting toward her through the mist, her foot hovered over the accelerator. Drake's voice buzzed through her earpiece. "Status? We have her," she said. "Repeat, we have Olivia, and Lang's men are going to realize it any second. Get her to the fallback location. Do not go home." "Copy." As Olivia threw herself into the back seat with Titan right beside her, Reyes peeled off, tires spitting gravel. She didn't need a map. The safe house was already coded into her muscle memory. An old CIA hideout in a warehouse district 2 towns over. Concrete walls, steel shutters, no Wi-Fi, no signals, just a place built for ghosts to disappear. Olivia caught her breath in the back, her hand tangled in Titan's fur. He didn't leave her side. "Where's Drake?" she asked. Reyes glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Setting the final trap." Olivia frowned. "Trap for who?" Reyes didn't answer, but she didn't need to. At that very moment, Marcus Drake stood alone in Lang's office. It was late. The precinct was quiet, a ghost town after the chaos of Barrett's escape. Everyone had been called into field detail, everyone but Lang. Because Lang, as always, worked in the shadows, and Drake had left the door ajar on purpose. He stood at the window, staring down at the courthouse across the plaza, a manila folder clutched under his arm. The city lights reflected off the glass, a distorted mosaic of justice and corruption. Lang entered without knocking as expected. "You really think walking in here unannounced was a good idea?" Lang asked casually, closing the door behind him. "Especially with everything going on." Drake turned. "I brought you something," he said, holding up the folder. Lang raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "Your obituary," Drake said. Lang chuckled. "You always were dramatic." He reached for the file, but Drake held on. "Before you open that," Drake said softly, "just know you made one mistake." Lang's smile faltered. "And what's that?" Drake dropped the folder onto the desk. "You underestimated a dog." Lang opened it. Inside were photographs, the warehouse where the buyout masks were printed, satellite images, surveillance footage, voice transcripts from Lang's private calls, receipts traced to a hidden fund linked to Black Widow. But the final piece, the damning one, was the partially burned glove with Jonas Cade's blood. The copy Lang had ordered destroyed, except Drake had kept the original. Lang's face paled. Drake leaned in. "That dog dragged you into the light, and now the whole world's about to see what's squirming in your darkness." Lang reached for his gun, but Drake was faster. He slammed Lang against the wall, pinning his arm, pressing the barrel of his service weapon to his ribs. "I'm not here to arrest you," Drake whispered. "I'm here to deliver the warning Olivia never got." Lang's breath hitched. "You won't shoot me." "Not here." "I don't need to," Drake said, stepping back and lowering the weapon. "I just need to stall." "Stall?" In the hallway outside, footsteps echoed, dozens of them. Then came the shout, "Federal agents, hands where we can see them." The door burst open. Lang's entire world imploded in that instant. He tried to speak, but the FBI wasn't listening. They were reading federal charges, conspiracy, evidence tampering, and attempted assassination of a government witness. 2 agents snapped on cuffs. Lang thrashed, but no one helped him now. He was alone, just like Olivia had been, across town. Olivia sat at the safe house table, bandaged now, her eyes scanning the photographs Reyes had laid out. Black Widow's network, the assassination maps, and the final one, the blueprint for her death, drawn up by people she once trusted. Reyes poured her a cup of coffee. "You're clear now." Lang's being taken in. Olivia nodded slowly. "Not enough." "What do you mean? There's still one name missing." Reyes froze. "Harrington." Olivia's eyes darkened. "He disappeared the moment Vaughn fell. That wasn't a coincidence, and we both know it." Reyes hesitated, then nodded. "We'll find him," she said. Titan growled softly, nose against the floorboards. Olivia crouched beside him, her voice a whisper. "You smell something, boy." Titan growled louder now, his ears twitched, muscles tense. Then, in one fluid motion, he lunged toward the far wall, toward the ventilation duct. Olivia followed, adrenaline kicking in. She ripped open the panel, revealing a tiny black drone nestled inside, silent, camouflaged, watching. Reyes cursed. "They know where we are." Olivia snapped the drone in half, then looked up, fire in her eyes. "Good," she said. "Let them come." "Contact coming in hot." Reyes barked, already sweeping the surveillance feed across the monitors. Outside the safe house, a silent drone whirled through the fog like a phantom insect, its signal dead the moment Olivia crushed the one inside the duct. "They were watching us. That means they're near," she said, scanning the feed. But Olivia wasn't watching the screen. She was watching Titan. The dog had gone completely still, ears erect, body low, tail horizontal. Pure predator instinct. He wasn't just sensing motion, he was sensing intent. "Where are they, boy?" Olivia whispered. Titan stepped forward, nose twitching as he pointed with precision toward the western wall, the alley behind the warehouse. Reyes loaded her Glock and looked at Olivia. "We need to move." "No," Olivia replied firmly. "We stand." Reyes narrowed her eyes. "You want to hold ground?" Olivia didn't blink. "We've run enough. This is where we make our line." At that moment, a low growl echoed from Titan's throat, then the unmistakable crunch of a boot landing outside, then another. They were surrounding them. Reyes whispered into her comms. "Ethan, tell me you've got eyes." Static. Then, 3 hostiles approaching the back. 1 van, 1 sniper nest on the southeast rooftop. This isn't a hit squad. It's a full sweep. "Can you stall them?" Reyes asked. "No," Ethan replied, "but I can distract them." "Do it." Outside, 400 feet away, a black van rolled slowly through the alley, its headlights off. Inside, 4 men dressed in tactical armor reviewed the building's blueprints. On paper, it was just another condemned warehouse. But inside was the only woman who could destroy the rest of Black Widow. They had their orders, no survivors. "Go quiet," the lead whispered. "Alpha through the back, Bravo to the rooftop. When I signal." He never finished. The van's hood erupted in flame, a flashbang detonation followed by a deafening blast that sent shrapnel spiraling in every direction. The men scrambled. 2 went down. 1 shouted into his radio, "Compromised? Fall back." But the signal was jammed. From the rooftop adjacent, Ethan adjusted his rifle scope. "That's your cue," he whispered. Inside the safe house, Reyes kicked over the metal table, flipping it on its side to create cover. Olivia ducked behind it. Titan crouched beside her like a living shadow. She could hear the boots thudding up the stairwell, the whisper of weapons being drawn. But she wasn't afraid. She was ready. "Door breach in 5, Reyes muttered. "Glock trained dead ahead." "Let them open it," Olivia replied, wrapping a tourniquet around her arm, not for blood, but grip. Titan takes the first. The air pulsed with tension. Then, boom. The door exploded inward, wood splinters and dust raining down. The first agent burst through. Titan launched. Like a bolt of fury, he collided with the man's chest, jaws clamping down on his forearm with precision. The agent screamed, rifle clattering to the floor. Titan dragged him down, twisting with a calculated snap. Gunfire erupted. Reyes took out the second man with a double tap to the chest. The third fired blindly. His bullets pinged off the wall behind Olivia's head. She didn't flinch. She moved. Rolling forward, she slid under the table, snatched the downed agent's rifle, and came up firing. 1 shot to the leg, 1 to the shoulder. The third attacker dropped, screaming, weapons spinning from his grip. In 12 seconds, the warehouse fell silent again, except for Titan's panting and the last man's groans. Reyes stood slowly, surveying the scene. "Anyone else feel like that was too easy?" "I don't think this was the main strike team," Olivia said. "This was a test. To see if we're still worth killing." "No," Olivia corrected grimly. "To see if we're still alive." Reyes glanced at the camera feed. "Then we've got a problem. They'll know we survived." Olivia's gaze locked on Titan, now calmly licking his paw. "We're done hiding," she said. Later that night, under cover of darkness, Olivia stood over a rusted utility sink, washing blood from her hands. She stared into the cracked mirror above it, not at her reflection, but at the version of herself she had tried so hard to bury. The cop, the fighter, the handler. Behind her, Reyes approached quietly. "You okay?" Olivia didn't answer. "I've seen that look before," Reyes said. "You're thinking about crossing the line." Olivia met her eyes in the mirror. "I'm thinking about ending this." Reyes tilted her head. "Even if it means going through Harrington." Olivia turned, her eyes like flint. "Especially if it means going through Harrington." At the FBI command hub across town, Grayson Carter stood over a digital map tracking cell towers and camera feeds. His team had been working nonstop to triangulate any trace of Harrington's last known movement. Every image, every heat signature. Nothing. "He's good," Ethan said, looking up from his laptop. "He's really good." "He's not good," Grayson said. He's practiced. That means he's been doing this for a long time. Ethan leaned back in his chair. So how do we find a man who can wear any face? Grayson's eyes narrowed. We don't look for his face, he said. We look for his habits. He pointed to a heat map. 3 unregistered drones pinged in a triangular grid around a closed facility 2 nights ago, all within 5 miles of Barrett's extraction point. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You think Harrington was watching? I think he was testing response times. Grayson grabbed his coat. Where are you going? Ethan asked. To walk right into his crosshairs, Grayson said, and wait for him to flinch. Back at the safe house, Olivia laid out her plan. We use me as bait. Reyes frowned. You want to what? We leak a false location. Say I'm being moved to another safe house, somewhere isolated. And when Harrington bites, we track the kill team he sends, let them lead us to him. Reyes crossed her arms. You're gambling your life on Harrington being arrogant enough to chase you personally. Olivia didn't blink. He doesn't just want me gone. He wants me erased. Titan walked to her side, sitting calmly, his golden eyes fixed on hers. And I've got something he'll never have, Olivia added. Reyes smiled faintly. A partner who never quits? Olivia looked down at Titan. No, she whispered. A witness who never forgets. Package is on the move, confirmed visual from Drone Bravo. The voice in Grayson's earpiece was calm, but tense. From his vantage point atop a derelict parking garage, he could see the decoy convoy snaking through the industrial zone. 3 unmarked SUVs, bulletproof glass, tinted windows, each one indistinguishable from the other. Just as Olivia had planned, the perfect bait. But what Harrington didn't know was that Olivia wasn't in any of them. She was underground, 2 miles south, watching every camera feed, every thermal scan, waiting for the trap to spring. Titan sat beside her, head resting on her boot, eyes focused on the glowing monitors. A faint growl rumbled in his chest. Talk to me, Olivia said, eyes locked on the screen. Any signs of movement? Ethan's voice crackled through. Just got a spike. Unmarked signal jumping between 4 frequencies. Whoever's coordinating this knows what they're doing, Olivia finished. Another voice cut in. Reyes, perched in a tower across from the main highway exit. Thermal just picked up something west of your convoy. Small vehicle, no plates, moving opposite traffic, slow and steady. Olivia leaned closer. Patch it in. The screen shifted. There, crawling like a shadow against the flow of traffic, was a matte black sedan. No headlights, no identifiers, too cautious to be ordinary, too subtle to be random. And then it blinked, a pulse of heat. Brief, but unmistakable. Reyes cursed. That's it, they just scanned us. Stand by, Olivia said. He's testing the waters. Titan's ears perked. He growled again, but this time his nose twitched, searching. Then he stood. Olivia watched him. What is it, boy? He walked to the wall-mounted map, sat, then turned his head, southwest. She followed his gaze. The old Metro Works refinery, abandoned for 10 years, condemned supposedly. But it had one thing no other location nearby had. A subterranean tunnel system originally built to pump wastewater to the river. It was perfect for someone who needed to watch without being seen. She stood, grabbed her sidearm and keyed her mic. Reyes, Ethan, fall back and reconverge. New target, Metro Works. Harrington isn't watching from the streets, he's below them. Grayson came on. What about the convoy? Let it run, she replied. The real hunt starts now. 30 minutes later. The sky had turned copper gray by the time they reached the southern edge of the refinery. Olivia, Reyes, and Titan crouched behind the shattered husk of a burnt-out tanker. Ethan was already inside, planted in a control room that overlooked the old filtration floor. Entry point is still viable, he whispered. Access hatch on the east side is unlocked. Looks like it's been used recently. Grayson arrived seconds later, slipping through the chain-link perimeter like a ghost. This place gives me the creeps. That's why he chose it, Olivia murmured. Reyes checked the mag in her pistol. We going in loud? Olivia shook her head. We go in smart. Harrington's expecting a fight. He's not expecting justice. They moved. Single file, quiet as breath. Titan took point, his paws padding silently across the grime-covered floor. Olivia followed, every sense sharpened, muscles coiled tight. The silence wasn't normal. It wasn't just abandonment, it was engineered. No wildlife, no echo, just silence. They descended into the lower levels. Pipes lined the walls like steel arteries. The air smelled of rust and something else. acrid, metallic, like blood that had dried years ago. Then Titan stopped, growled. Olivia knelt beside him. "What do you smell, boy?" Titan's ears flattened. His growl deepened. She turned to Reyes and pointed to a hatch at the far end of the corridor. Reyes nodded and signaled Ethan. "Thermal's picking up a heat source in that room," Ethan confirmed. "Single occupant, seated, possibly working at a desk." "Could it be a trap?" Grayson whispered. Olivia exhaled. "Of course it's a trap." Then she smiled. "But he's not the only one who knows how to set one." She unholstered her gun. "Let's end this." They kicked the door in. The blast of light from the monitors inside nearly blinded them. A wall of screens lit the room. Street cameras, traffic signals, even a feed from the courthouse. And in the center of it all, a man. Calm, composed, Harrington. Wearing a pressed white shirt, no armor, no mask. Just him and a slow, knowing smile. "You found me," he said. "Cut the act," Olivia snapped. "This is over." "Is it?" he asked, leaning back. "Because I don't hear sirens, I don't see agents, I see you and your dog. How poetic." Titan growled, teeth bared. "Let me guess," Harrington mused. "You thought if you found me, brought your ragtag band of rebels, this would all collapse." "You're going to prison," Grayson said coldly. "I'm not," Harrington said. He reached under the desk. Olivia raised her gun, but he didn't pull a weapon. He pulled a small black tablet and pressed a button. All the monitors blinked, then revealed a new screen. A countdown. 30 minutes, Harrington said, until everything tied to Black Widow goes up in smoke. Servers, contracts, witnesses, you. Reyes stepped forward. "What did you do?" "I buried it all," Harrington said, "and if I go down, I'm taking it with me." Titan snarled and lunged. But this time, Olivia stopped him. She walked to Harrington, slow and deliberate. Her gun never wavered. "You know what your problem is?" she said. Harrington smirked. "Enlighten me. You think you're in control, even now." She raised the radio in her left hand. "Go," she whispered. The wall behind Harrington exploded inward, plaster and steel raining down as FBI agents stormed the room. Guns drawn. Orders shouted, red dots lighting Harrington's chest. He froze. "You bugged me," he whispered. "I baited you," Olivia replied. "You thought we were here alone, but you've been live-streaming your confession to a federal task force." She stepped closer, pressing the muzzle of her pistol to his temple. "Game over." Harrington's hands rose. "I suppose," he said. But his smile didn't fade, and that smile chilled her more than anything else. Outside the refinery, agents loaded evidence into trucks, drives, maps, weapons, masks. Grayson and Ethan supervised the collection. Olivia sat in the back of an ambulance, a blanket over her shoulders, tightened beside her. She stared out at the rising dawn. "Think it's finally over?" Reyes asked, sitting beside her. "No," Olivia replied. "It's just beginning." "What do you mean?" She glanced down at Titan. "Because someone's still out there," Reyes frowned. "Who?" Olivia's eyes didn't waver from the horizon. "The one Harrington was scared of." "Is he talking yet?" Grayson's voice was low, restrained, but it carried a sharp edge as he stepped into the holding cell observation room. Behind the two-way mirror, Michael Harrington sat alone, ankles shackled, wrists cuffed to a steel table bolted to the floor. He looked too calm. A man with secrets still in his pocket. Ethan, standing at the console, didn't turn. Not a word. He asked for a lawyer, then stared at the ceiling like he was in a damn spa. Grayson studied Harrington through the glass. "He's not afraid. That means he still thinks someone's going to clean up his mess." "He knows someone will," Ethan said grimly. "You saw the symbol on his desk, right?" Grayson nodded. The triangle bisected by a single line. It was subtle, burned into the grain of the table, visible only under the right light. It was the same one from the murder scenes, the Black Widow symbol. Ethan zoomed in on Harrington's restrained hands. "We think he's the handler, but I'm starting to wonder if he's just a puppet." Grayson's jaw tightened. "Then it's time to meet the puppeteer." Elsewhere. Deep beneath the facade of a crumbling museum in the heart of the city, a woman walked calmly through a corridor lined with biometric scanners and soundproofed steel. Her footsteps echoed with quiet power. She wore a tailored black suit, a pin of the triangle symbol on her collar like a crown. Her name, Alara Voss. Her file, if it even existed, had been purged years ago. To the world, she was a philanthropic businesswoman investing in revolutionary security technologies. In truth, she was the operational architect of Black Widow. Not a soldier, not a trigger woman. A mind, a mask. She paused in front of a secure vault door. A man in tactical gear greeted her, nodding. "We've lost Harrington." "I know," Alara said. Her voice was silk wrapped around a blade. "He gave them everything, the servers, the equipment. He gave them breadcrumbs," she interrupted. "The real operation is still untouched." The man hesitated. "Should we activate Phase 9? Alara tilted her head. "Not yet. Let them believe they've won. Let them celebrate. That's when the knife goes deepest." She entered the vault. Rows of masks greeted her. Biopolymer, lifelike. Hundreds of faces, stored in cooled cases like relics of the dead. One mask was missing, Olivia Barrett's. Alara smiled. "Time to collect our missing piece." Back at the safe house, Titan's ears twitched. Olivia was asleep, finally. She hadn't closed her eyes in 36 hours, not since the raid on the refinery. Her body needed rest, but her mind stayed locked in a cycle of images. Harrington's smirk, the countdown, the symbol. Titan, curled at her bedside, lifted his head, then stood. Something wasn't right. The air. It changed. He walked to the door, paused soundless on the wooden floor. He sniffed, then stopped. Unfamiliar scent. He growled, then the power cut. The room fell into darkness. Titan barked once, sharp, a warning. Olivia's eyes snapped open. The sound of glass cracking echoed from the back window. She rolled out of bed, grabbing the pistol from the nightstand. Then came the voice, filtered through a speaker outside the wall. Detective Barrett said, calm and cool. "You have 30 seconds to walk outside, unarmed, or the dog dies first." Olivia's heart pounded, not because of the threat, because of the voice. It was female. Smooth, precise. Not Harrington. Someone else. Someone worse. She pulled out her radio. "Rise? Status? Static. Grayson?" Nothing. She looked at Titan. He was pacing now, hackles raised. And she made a choice. She whispered, "Go." Titan didn't wait. He bolted toward the back, pushing open a panel in the wall that led to the crawlspace. She'd built it for this reason. Escape. The front door exploded inward. A grenade rolled across the floor. Smoke, not shrapnel. Through the haze, 2 figures stepped in. Black suits, no badges, no words. Just extraction. Olivia raised her weapon, fired twice. One hit, the other dodged. They kept coming. She turned, sprinted down the hallway, vaulted over the kitchen counter, then dove through the second-story window just as another flashbang tore the air apart. Glass rained down. She landed hard, shoulder first. Rolled. Got up. Titan was already there. She shouted, "Run!" Together, they disappeared into the alley shadows. Hours later, inside an abandoned bookstore several miles away, Olivia paced as Ethan stitched a gash in her arm. Titan lay curled nearby, bruised but unhurt. "Who the hell was that?" Reyes asked. They weren't local law, no insignia, no identifiers. "They didn't want to kill me," Olivia said. "Not yet." Grayson arrived then, slamming a photo down on the table. It was a freeze frame from a recovered surveillance feed. The woman in the black suit. Sharp cheekbones, short silver hair, eyes like frost. "That's her," Olivia said immediately. Grayson nodded. "We have a name. Alara Voss. Former Intel asset. Went dark 10 years ago. Since then, nothing. She's ghosted every system we've got." Reyes whistled. "She's the top of the pyramid?" "She's not just the top," Olivia said, her voice hard. "She is Black Widow." Grayson looked at her. "Then how do we stop her?" Olivia didn't hesitate. "We don't run. We don't wait. We find her. Underground, beneath the city's archive vault." Alara Voss watched the footage from Olivia's escape. She didn't frown, didn't blink. "She's better than I expected," she murmured. The man beside her cleared his throat. "Do you want her eliminated?" "No," Alara said. "Not yet." She turned, her fingers brushing one of the many masks hanging in the chamber. "This isn't about death." She turned back to the screen, her eyes locked on Titan's image as he ran beside Olivia. "It's about obedience." Then she smiled. "Let's see how loyal the dog really is." The van screeched to a halt beneath the ruins of an overpass in District 12, an industrial no-man's land where surveillance cameras had long since gone dark, and cell reception flickered like a dying light bulb. Olivia stepped out, her boots crunching on glass and twisted rebar. Titan leapt down beside her, scanning the shadows with those golden eyes that seemed to see through concrete. They had just barely escaped another ambush in Midtown. A sniper had taken a shot through her hotel window 2 hours before dawn. A bullet meant for the brain, not the shoulder. If Titan hadn't growled, hadn't barked when he did. She didn't finish the thought. Grayson climbed down behind her, his eyes sharp, jaw tense. Ethan and Reyes covered the rear, silent but ready. They'd been chased for 72 hours straight. Olivia hadn't slept more than 30 minutes at a time. Her arm, half-stitched from the earlier extraction attempt, still throbbed beneath her coat. But her mind was clearer than it had ever been. Because now, she wasn't just trying to prove Harper's innocence. She was hunting Alara Voss. Her name used to mean something, Ethan said later, as they crouched around an old service desk in what used to be a freight office. Titan lay at Olivia's side, ears twitching every few seconds. CIA counterintel, Ethan continued. Operated under 5 identities in Europe. No known family. She disappeared from the grid in 2015. That's when she founded Black Widow. Grayson tossed a cracked tablet on the desk, and this was her blueprint. On screen, a map of the city. Layers of it, courthouses, communications hubs, police routes, federal nodes, even secure tunnels beneath the prisons. She's not just a ghost, Grayson said. She's rewired the city. Reyes leaned forward. So what's the play? Olivia's voice was low, steady. We flush her out, use the only leverage we have left. Grayson looked at her. Titan? She's watching him. She's obsessed with him, Olivia said. You saw it in the raid footage. She paused when she saw him. Like she already had plans. Reyes frowned. What kind of plans? Olivia hesitated. She's going to try and turn him. Grayson blinked. Turn him? He's not a person. He's loyal. Exactly, Olivia said. But she doesn't want to kill him. She wants to reprogram him. Somewhere beneath the riverbed in a facility no one knew existed, Alara Voss stood before a translucent screen showing Olivia and Titan together on a rooftop. Grainy drone footage. A behavioral analysis program tracked Titan's movements, tagging his body language in real time. The readout, primary target recognition, 100% protective response, 98% reprogram compatibility, 73.4%. Close, she murmured, but not close enough. Her assistant, a wiry man in surgical gloves, looked over. Should I initiate the neural sync protocol? Alara turned to the holding chamber. On the other side of the glass stood a German shepherd nearly identical to Titan. Same eyes, same gait, but empty. Blank. Its name tag, Unit 6A Obedience Clone. No, Alara said coldly. The real dog is better, pure, loyal. I don't want a copy. I want him. She tapped the glass. I want to know what it takes to break the bond between human and hound. And when I find it, I will use it on every loyal agent in the world. That night, in the safe house, Titan stirred. His head snapped up. He was dreaming again. Flashes. Harper's voice, the courtroom, the leash yanked from his neck, the slam of the cell door, the way she never looked back because they wouldn't let her. Titan whimpered. Olivia sat beside him. She didn't sleep either. Do you remember her? She whispered. You never stopped looking. Titan nudged her hand gently with his snout. I'm gonna get her back, I promise. But deep in his core, something trembled. A scent, a sound, a signal he didn't understand, but one that made his bones ache. It was calling him. 48 hours later, they moved at dawn. A lead had come in from a rogue asset, Jake Carter, a whistleblower from the Bureau who had finally decided to flip on Vaughn's network. He gave them one word: labyrinth. An underground site beneath the old aqueduct network, once used for military testing, now completely off the record. No GPS, no cameras, no way in without a guide. And Jake offered to be that guide. They found the entrance beneath a crumbling churchyard in the Redmond district. A rusted service elevator led them 300 feet below ground, into what felt like the bones of the earth. This is as far as I go, Jake said, sweating. The rest is yours. Olivia, Titan, Grayson, Ethan, and Reyes stepped out into the dark. Titan paused. The scent was stronger here. Something old, something dangerous. They crept forward. Silence, then a whisper through the walls. Hello, Titan. It wasn't Olivia's voice. It wasn't anyone's voice. It was inside his head. He froze. Do you know who you really are? Olivia spun around. Titan? The dog looked at her, then looked away. Not disobedient. Conflicted. Then, metal slammed open ahead. Alara Voss stepped through a corridor of flickering lights. She wore no armor, no guards, just confidence, and a remote in her hand. Barrett, she said with a smile, let's have a conversation about control. Stop right there, Grayson shouted, raising his weapon the second Alara Voss stepped into view. His voice cut through the damp, low-ceilinged corridor of the underground complex like a whip. But Alara didn't even blink. She stood at ease, as if she were greeting old friends at a dinner party. Unarmed, elegant in her black suit, a strange calm flickering in her pale eyes. In her hand, the silver remote with a single red button caught the glint of the flickering light overhead. "I'd be careful," she said smoothly. "You shoot me, and Titan may never be the same again." Olivia stiffened beside Grayson. Her fingers twitched near the trigger. "Don't try to bluff," she said. "You don't control him." Alara raised a brow. "Don't I?" And then it happened. Titan froze, mid-step, his body locked like a statue, ears stiff, tail rigid, pupils dilated. "Titan?" Olivia called out. She took a step toward him. "It's me. Look at me." But he didn't move. Then came the low growl, unlike any she'd heard from him before. Deep, mechanical, wrong. Grayson glanced at Olivia, lowering his voice. "What's going on?" Olivia's pulse thudded in her ears. She knelt slowly, placing her hand gently on Titan's side. His muscles twitched beneath her touch, and then he snapped his head toward her, growled, bared his teeth. It was brief, only for a second, but it felt like a lifetime. Olivia's breath caught. "Titan," she whispered. "It's me. Remember Harper? Remember the courtroom, the leash, the day she gave you your first medal?" The dog's growl faltered, his tail twitched, his ears shifted back. Confusion. Then pain. Then Alara pressed the red button. Titan let out a howl of agony and collapsed. "What did you do?" Olivia screamed, lunging forward. "Relax," Alara said calmly. "It's only a disruption signal. I tapped into the neurological calibration Harper used during his training sessions. A brainstem trigger, buried deep inside. Every K9 handler knows how to build loyalty. I just learned how to hijack it." Grayson aimed his weapon higher. "Give me one reason not to blow your spine out." "I'll give you 3, Alara said. She stepped aside. Behind her, a metal door slid open. Inside, flickering monitors lined the walls. Dozens of faces, men, women, children, recognizable, the whistleblowers, the journalists, the people Harper had once protected as a cop. Olivia's stomach turned. "What is this?" "Insurance," Alara said. "Kill me, and every one of them dies. There are 10 agents stationed near their homes right now. Orders on standby." Ethan's voice cracked. "You're bluffing." Alara tilted her head. "Try me." Olivia lowered her weapon, inch by inch. "What do you want?" "To prove a point," Alara said. "You believe loyalty is unbreakable. You believe a dog will never turn on its master." She crouched next to Titan, who lay still, his chest heaving, his eyes wide and flickering between confusion and fear. "Let's find out, shall we?" she whispered. Back in the decontamination chamber they commandeered as a temporary shelter, Titan lay sedated under Ethan's watchful eye. Olivia knelt beside him, brushing her fingers along his fur. "He's fighting something," she murmured. "Something deep." Grayson stood at the door, pacing. "We need to destroy the transmitter. That's the source. She's using that signal to suppress his free will." "She didn't build it here," Reyes said, eyes on the laptop. "The remote signal's bouncing through 4 major satellites. She's using a secured loop through a military-grade uplink." Grayson cursed. "So we can't jam it?" "No," Olivia said slowly, eyes never leaving Titan. "But maybe we don't have to." Reyes frowned. "What do you mean?" Olivia looked up, her expression razor-sharp. "We don't fight her technology. We fight her philosophy. She thinks loyalty can be broken, but Titan's isn't built from commands. It's built from love, from memory." Ethan blinked. "So, what do we do?" Olivia's voice steadied. "We give him a reason to remember." The next night, they moved through the storm. Rain slashed across the rooftops as lightning split the sky like an open wound. The team had traced the uplink location, an off-grid transmission tower disguised as a wind farm near the southern ridge. A place only someone like Alara would use. Grayson and Reyes flanked the perimeter, silencing guards one by one. Ethan worked on disabling the exterior comms. Inside the armored van, Titan stirred. Olivia sat beside him, whispering softly. "You remember Harper, don't you?" she said. "She's still alive, still waiting, and we're so close to clearing her name, but I can't do it without you." Titan blinked. He growled softly, less aggressive, more unsure. "I know it's hard," Olivia said. "They put something inside you, something you didn't ask for. But you're stronger than that. You're the best damn K9 in the country. You're Harper's." Lightning flashed, and Titan stood, slowly, unsteadily, but with purpose. The red light in his collar flickered, then dimmed. Olivia smiled through tears. "Welcome back, partner." Inside the tower's core control room, Alara Voss watched a monitor flash a silent warning. K9 system error. Neural override rejected. Her eyes narrowed. Impossible. Then, gunfire outside. The building shook. Grayson's voice crackled through a speaker. "Your time's up, Voss." She stood quickly, pressed one final button, a failsafe, a kill command. Titan, still charging across the courtyard, yelped, staggered, then kept running. Alara's eyes widened. No, he's not supposed to. Crash. The wall exploded. Titan burst through, eyes blazing, and behind him, Olivia, Grayson, Ethan, Reyes. Alara backed away, pistol in hand. "Don't do this." Olivia raised hers. "It's over. I'll kill every witness. I'll collapse this building and erase the servers." "You already lost," Olivia said, "because you thought control was stronger than trust." Titan leapt. He didn't kill, he tackled, pinned, growled until the cuffs snapped on, and with that, the bond breaker was broken. Rain washed over the ruined transmission tower, diluting the blood, the ash, and the lies that had stained the floors for too long. In the wreckage, Alara Voss sat slumped against a steel beam, her wrists cuffed, her breath shallow, her empire crumbling. Grayson stood over her, cold and unflinching. Behind him, Reyes and Ethan secured the data drives while a forensic drone hovered, scanning the collapsed walls for trace evidence. But Olivia didn't move. She was crouched beside Titan, one hand on his soaked fur, the other gently stroking behind his ears. The storm had softened into a quiet mist, and under that veil, the two of them, soldier and sentinel, shared a silence only they understood. "You still with me?" she whispered. Titan gave a soft grunt, his head resting against her knee. The remote Alara had used was now in pieces, crushed beneath Olivia's boot moments after Titan's final lunge. "Good boy," Olivia said. Her voice trembled. "You broke free." Titan's tail gave a faint wag. But the moment was short-lived. Grayson's voice cut in. "Olivia, we've got a problem." She looked up. "What now?" Grayson's face was grim. "Vaughn." Ethan added, "We intercepted a burst signal just before Alara's tower collapsed. A fallback order sent directly to Vaughn's secondary asset chain." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Meaning what?" Reyes responded, "Meaning the moment we took her, Vaughn knew he was next, and now he's gone completely off-grid." At the Federal Detainment Center, Alara Voss sat in a reinforced interrogation room, bathed in sterile light. Across from her sat Olivia and Grayson, the former calm and composed, the latter wound like a loaded spring. "We have enough evidence to put you away for life," Olivia said, "but that's not why we're here." Alara gave a faint smirk. "You want Vaughn?" Grayson slammed a hand on the table. "You gave him a kill switch. We know what he's planning." Alara's smirk didn't fade. "Oh, I gave him more than that. I gave him purpose." Olivia leaned forward. "He framed Harper, destroyed lives, manipulated the system from the inside, and did it flawlessly." Alara replied, her voice like silk dipped in poison. "But do you know why he did it? Not for power, not even for money. Because people like him believe justice should be engineered." Grayson's jaw tightened. Olivia's gaze didn't waver. "He's going to kill her." Alara's smile finally disappeared. "No, he's going to erase her. And this time there's no courtroom, no guards, no staged execution." She leaned in, eyes sharp. "He's going to make her vanish, and when he does, no one will even remember her name." That night, Olivia sat alone in the field tent, surrounded by files. Photos, DNA scans, network maps. But her eyes stayed fixed on one thing, Harper's prison ID, torn and burned, recovered from Vaughn's last known site. She ran her fingers over it, her heart heavy. Then, a bark, soft, persistent, Titan. He stood in the doorway, eyes gleaming with a familiar urgency. Olivia rose. "You found something?" The dog turned and darted toward the far end of the facility. Olivia grabbed her coat and followed. Titan led her to the data lab, where Ethan sat staring at a digital map. "I was tracking Vaughn's offshore money flow," he said. "He withdrew everything from a ghost account yesterday, and it matches an old safe house profile, military-grade security, private helipad, 20 miles outside city limits." Grayson appeared in the doorway. "And Harper?" Olivia's voice was a whisper. "She's there." Titan barked once, like a vow. They moved under cover of darkness. 4 agents, 1 K9, and an unshakable mission. At 3:12 a.m., a black SUV stopped just outside the compound. The building ahead looked abandoned, windows shattered, overgrown with vines. But Titan's posture told a different story. He was crouched, alert, nose twitching. "She's inside," Olivia whispered. Reyes cut the power from a buried junction box. Grayson pried open the rear gate. Ethan disabled the thermal grid, and then they were in. Room by room, they cleared the halls, finding nothing but silence and dust. Until Titan stopped. He turned to the right wing, growled, and bolted. Olivia followed instantly, weapon raised. The hallway curved, narrowed, until it led to a door sealed by biometric lock. Grayson arrived seconds later. "We don't have time to crack it." Olivia knelt. "Titan?" He sniffed the ground, then backed up. Then sprinted forward, slamming into the door with every ounce of muscle and fury he had. Bang! Once, twice, 3 times. The 4th blow cracked the panel, the 5th shattered it. The door gave way. Inside, Harper Callaway lay shackled to a medical table, her arms bruised, her eyes half open, but alive. She looked up, slowly, and for the first time in months, she smiled. "Titan?" she breathed. The dog whimpered, then rushed forward. He climbed onto the edge of the table, nuzzling her face, licking her cheek, tail wagging frantically. Harper let out a sob. One hand, still chained, reached up to touch his fur. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. "I never stopped believing." Behind them, Grayson raised his weapon. A shadow moved near the rear exit. Footsteps. Fast. Familiar. "Vaughn." Olivia shouted. "Stop." He didn't. So she fired. The bullet struck the wall inches from his shoulder. He ducked through the door, vanished into the woods. Grayson gave chase, but Olivia stayed behind. Because Harper, her eyes full of light, was finally awake. Hours later, beneath the rising sun, Harper sat in the medical van, wrapped in a blanket, IV line taped to her hand. Titan curled at her feet. Olivia stood beside her, silent. "You saved me," Harper whispered. "No," Olivia replied. "He did." Harper looked down at Titan, tears shining in her eyes. "He always finds me first." Titan blinked and gently placed his paw in her lap. The courtroom was packed. Not with anger this time, but with reverence. Respect. Reporters sat in stunned silence. Agents lined the back wall. Cameras were forbidden, but history didn't need lenses today. It needed witnesses. At the front of the room, Harper Callaway stood. Free, healed, unshackled. Her left hand rested on the harness of the dog who had never stopped believing in her. Titan, freshly groomed, his badge affixed once more to his collar. The applause that had broken out when she entered had faded now, replaced by a quiet so absolute it felt holy. Judge Marin looked over her glasses. Her voice was gentle, but sure. "Captain Callaway, this court owes you more than an apology. It owes you a reckoning. Today, that begins." Harper didn't nod. She didn't blink. She just listened. Because today wasn't about her pain. It was about something larger. Truth. And truth had finally arrived. The trial of Richard Vaughn was the largest federal prosecution in nearly 20 years. Evidence presented over 12 days traced everything, from the forged DNA evidence in Harper's case, to the assassination contracts he greenlit through the Black Widow network, to the financial paper trail that spanned 3 continents and implicated more than a dozen officials across 5 branches of government. Vaughn, seated in silence behind the defense table, looked smaller than anyone remembered, weaker, because when a man's mask is ripped away, the monster often turns out to be ordinary. But Harper? She stood taller than ever. Her testimony didn't begin with bitterness. It began with gratitude. To every agent who doubted the story, then chose to investigate anyway, thank you. To the people who believed I could survive what was meant to destroy me, thank you. And to the one who never gave up, even when I was in chains. She looked down at Titan. He blinked up at her. "I owe you everything." The room was still. One agent wiped a tear. The stenographer paused her typing. And Judge Marin closed her eyes for a moment as if giving the silence permission to speak. Grayson testified next. He spoke not as an agent, but as a witness to loyalty, to injustice, to what happens when the truth is buried under bureaucracy. Harper wasn't just framed, she was erased. And the only reason she's here today is because the one being who could never be bought, never manipulated, and never lied to, was her dog. He looked down. Titan's ears perked. He broke the case open when no one else could. Ethan and Rise walked the court through the digital evidence, the biopolymer masks, the corrupted prison logs, the assassination schedule Vaughn had planned for the next 3 years. The jury sat stunned. Even Vaughn's attorney had no defense by day 9. On day 10, Vaughn stood. "I have nothing to say," he said. But he looked at Harper, and she didn't look away. She didn't blink, because no matter what he did, he couldn't erase her anymore. The final witness was Titan. They allowed it. Not because he could speak, but because the world had to see him. He walked up the center aisle, his tail poised, his steps sure, his eyes locked on Harper. He sat at her feet. and the room stood. Every juror, every reporter, every official, and Harper, her hand on his head, smiled. Because even if no words were spoken, justice had heard him loud and clear. Later that night, after the verdict, guilty on all counts, Harper stepped outside the courthouse. Grayson stood beside her. Ethan and Rise flanked the rear, and Titan sat like a statue, watching the press from behind his service shades. "You're free," Grayson said, finally. Harper turned to him. "We're free." Then she looked down at Titan. "You ready to go home?" Titan barked. Once, soft, resolute. A week later, at a national ceremony in Washington, D.C., Harper was awarded the Medal of Honor for Integrity in Federal Service. Titan was given a gold-plated service medal engraved with his name and the words, "Loyalty Beyond Measure." Crowds gathered, speeches were made, but no words would ever capture what he'd done. Months passed. Black Widow's remaining members were hunted down and dismantled. The system Harper had once served and been betrayed by was finally reforming. She didn't go back to being just an officer. She became the director of a new agency, the Justice Integrity Commission, dedicated to defending whistleblowers, exposing corruption, and retraining federal law enforcement to center human dignity. Titan stayed with her every day. Sometimes he rested at her feet in meetings. Sometimes he sniffed out threats long before the agents knew they existed. And sometimes he simply laid beside her on the porch as she looked out over the world she fought so hard to return to. One evening, she looked down at him and said, "Do you think they'll remember us, boy?" Titan turned his head, nudged her hand, and in his eyes she saw the answer. They didn't need to be remembered, because justice already knew their names. He was just a dog, they said, but when the world framed his handler and turned her into a ghost, he followed the truth anyway, through bullets, betrayal, and blood. He never gave up, and because of that, justice didn't just return, it roared. If this story touched you, subscribe for more, and tell us in the comments, who in your life would go this far to protect you?